Forget all you know about podcasts. We welcome you to an experience uniquely different. Please join us for our coverage of all entertainment on the fringe of society. The candles are lit, the lights are down low. It is now time to welcome our host as he steps up to the pulpit. The sacrifice has been prepared for the midnight black mass.
Ghastly greetings, groovy ghoulies, and welcome to another edition of the Midnight Black Mass Podcast. I, as always, am your host, the maniacal minister of the occult, the devil you know, the Reverend Dan Wilson, and it is my distinct honor and privilege to make a huge announcement this week, folks. Guess who's back? Back again. Andrew's back. Tell your friends. Andrew Alexander has returned to the show. Andrew, how's it going?
Man, it is so good to be back. Man, you can't talk. You can't run that cocksucker for a little bit. You start to miss stuff. You realize you take that stuff for granted. I haven't got to rant and rave on a podcast in so many weeks. Oh, it's good to be back. Can't live up to that little jingle, I don't think, but I'm excited, ready to roll.
That's right, folks. The Reverend just busted out some Slim Shady on you.
That's right. I feel like I've missed so fucking much. I mean, I know you've been talking about stuff on the podcast still, but it almost feels like a whole year's went by or something.
There's been a lot of events. AJ Styles debuting in the WWE there's a lot of scuttlebutt and water cooler talk about that.
A lot of deaths. 50 people died, all from the music industry, I believe.
Yeah, the music industry was hit hard, and unfortunately, sad news coming into the program tonight. Back to the wrestling industry, a local favorite, a guy who we've known for many, many years. This dude who I always thought was hilarious, and I had just recently reconnected with him over the years. He was a big comic book nerd like myself and had gone beyond wrestling, kind of left that in the past and gone on to being a vendor at various conventions and things across the country. A guy named Jay Farley, real name Jared Allen, passed from natural causes in his sleep and left behind a wife and 3 young kids. It was a very sad day for the Chattanooga wrestling community.
Oh yeah, man, that's horrible. Like you, probably about 2 years now. I've reconnected with him. As like you said, he had been selling at various comic conventions and things. Had set up selling action figures and things like that, and I've become much closer to him through that. Even though the few times we shared locker rooms together, he was always great to be around. But such a great guy. Never saw him in a bad mood. Never saw him, be like a dick or a bad person to anyone. He was just always happy. Always liked talking comics and various dorky and nerdy things. Feel so bad for his wife and his 3 kids. One of his children seemed to always be by his side at the comic conventions and stuff. So it's definitely sad. Happened out of nowhere. He couldn't have been much older than us. I know he wasn't. He probably right in our age range. So very, very shocking, very sudden, and very sad.
Yeah, man. I posted on Twitter, which you can follow me at Dragons Rejects. When your friends that are your own age start passing from natural causes, it hits you pretty hard that you are no longer that young of a man.
Yeah, I mean, I've known that for some time now. I don't have to have my friends start dropping off to make me realize that, but it's definitely.
I'm trying to deny it as long as it's fucking possible, okay?
But it'll definitely snap you to and get your attention for sure. Just really sucks to hear. Just always nice bumping into him, and I try to. A lot of the conventions that are within driving distance, I like to go to just if anything, just to look around and check things out, and pretty much always see him at those, and always have a good time talking to him and kind of shooting the shit. So definitely going to miss that. Definitely sad to hear about that. And I think I mean. Because, we have a mutual friend who also sells at the conventions and does a lot of business with him with those things. We have a mutual friend there, and, man, I think he told me about it, pretty much before it kind of made the rounds on Facebook, and, people kind of started finding out. So I was, I didn't know if it was a joke or not for a second, and unfortunately it wasn't. I definitely wish it would have been.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely had a warped sense of humor, which was right up my alley. Like, to me, he was hysterical. And everybody thought that. I mean, that's not just my thoughts. Common report is, everybody always saw him with a smile on his face. He was always making people laugh. I just saw him at WrestleHemia, the last one that they did, which I'm told may be the final WrestleHemia event. He was there hanging out with his longtime cohort and best buddy, Leroy Lewis, who's a fixture of the Chattanooga wrestling scene. And condolences to Leroy, too. I know it's a big loss to him and all of his friends and family, so we're definitely going to miss the large lover, Jay Farley.
Absolutely.
And then just another quick passing in the wrestling business. I don't know if you're familiar with this gentleman, but I worked with him down in NWA, Florida, and I worked with him. No, I didn't really work with him, but communicated and, did some talent exchange and stuff back and forth when I was working in the Georgia office. But Mark Nolte, long time as former referee for Florida Wrestling. He ended up being an announcer later. He was an announcer on some of the early Ring of Honor broadcasts, and he ran the Wrestling Classics message board. And I found out he passed away today, so another loss to the wrestling community. So rest in peace to him as well. But moving on to some other news, of course, the big news coming out of this week is the shocking retirement of Daniel Bryan. We've speculated on the show for the last couple of weeks based on the report of the fact that the doctors were not clearing him to go back to competition, but that was an unfortunate inevitability, and sure enough, we've seen it now come to fruition.
Yeah, that's a big blow, man. That's a big blow for everyone, anyone involved in the wrestling business, not only the WWE, but obviously he made a huge name for himself before ever making it to the big stage on the independent wrestling scene. And I mean, I think this was kind of everybody's guy. I just don't know how you're not a fan of this guy, really, because he could work, he could do a faster paced, quote unquote, indie-tastic style, but he could also slow it down and really tell stories and sell and make things make sense and things such as that. And, always had to fight from underneath. Wasn't a big guy and had to really scratch and claw for everything he got. And he made such an impact in such a, pretty quick time once he got to the WWE. I've said it when he really took off with the whole Yes movement. I don't think we've seen a guy that over since the Austin Rock era. Even John Cena, who's extremely popular, has always had that kind of opposite side of the coin where he gets a lot of boos from people, whether it's just out of good fun or actual disdain. Daniel Bryan was just so over, such a huge, huge star. Not formed overnight, but definitely come on kind of quick, and they could not deny him, and added him to the main event of WrestleMania 30, one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time. He walked out the world champion, and it was just all kind of downhill from there. He never got his run. He had to forfeit the title, and he finally comes back. He wins the Intercontinental title at the next WrestleMania, has to forfeit that, very soon after. Just the years of abuse just took their toll, and he eventually had to hang him up.
And, he went out and he got cleared by other doctors that weren't WWE doctors. I think they were trying to protect themselves from a legal liability by not releasing him. But then, of course, he came out and said there were things he was kind of hiding about it because he didn't want to face reality, that he was having seizures as a result of some of the concussions. So, clearly it was having a negative impact on his health, and concussions are nothing to play around about. They're a big topic in the NFL and every other sport right now because we've seen the damage they can do. So, that it's really sad, man. It really sucks to see a guy. And that's a lesson to a lot of you young guys on the independent scene. Slow down, man. And I'm not trying to indict Daniel Bryan for going fast because, like you said, everybody loves that guy. I mean, you don't ever hear anybody say a bad word about him. He appeals to everybody that loves wrestling, from the most staunch old school people like Jim Cornette to the modern generation of guys that he inspired in his Ring of Honor stuff. Everybody loves Daniel Bryan. So, I'm not trying to indict him. He was just trying to keep up with the style of what was going on and what was going to get him noticed, and he did that. But he destroyed his body in the process. And just think about slowing down when you're out there, guys. There's a reason we say save those bumps on your bump card, because one day it's going to be cashed out. And unfortunately for a guy like Daniel Bryan, it happened right in the middle of his prime money-making years.
Yeah, I believe he's 34 years old, 34, and is forced to retire like that. That's horrible. He should have at least had 10 more years, minimum 10 more years. And this is a guy that he definitely worked extremely hard and took a lot of abuse and a lot of punishment, but he wasn't out there cutting double moonsaults and 450 splashes and things such as that. He really wasn't doing a lot of the crazy stuff that a lot of guys are doing nowadays, and a lot of guys are doing very frequently nowadays. As far as a style that you see today, he was kind of a safe dude, especially in the past 5 years with him being in the WWE. And it's still caught up to him, and it still cost him. And hopefully,
yeah, guys. Go ahead.
I would love to think that there's a place for him if he wants it, whether it be an agent role, or I think he's still, if you want to get away somehow from the heel authority that has been going strong for several years now and definitely could use a shot in the arm and a change, this guy could be a babyface authority figure with no problem, because he's still over, and he's going to be over for a long, long, long time. So if they want to keep him out there, and I don't know about as far as commentary or other on-screen roles, but I've got a feeling that this guy can do about anything he sets his mind to. So surely they still have a place for him in the company and in the business.
Oh, I wouldn't see how that would even be a remote possibility to not happen. Especially as a coach, and I think that's probably where his mind is because of the relationship with the business and the type of wrestling that he does and likes. I would imagine that being a coach would be a good thing for him. But an on-air performer, certainly, he's got the charisma. The people love him. You can make him somebody's manager and get a babyface over in like a Mickey-type role, as like the trainer coach. There's a lot of things you could do. Babyface authority figure, as you mentioned. So, yeah, I'd definitely he's going to have a place as long as he wants it. But the young guys, another thing, just talking about Daniel Bryan, up, as Andy mentioned, probably the most conservative of that whole early era of Ring of Honor styles. And I think all of those guys are fantastic workers. You want to look at how to do that style. I bitch and gripe about guys going too fast and this, that, and the other. You want to know how to do that style well, watch those guys. Danielson, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe. Those guys could do that style, and they did it well because they sold. They knew how to turn it up at the right spots and slow it down at the right spots. And that's the thing that's lost with this. But, okay, so you one day you're going to pay a fucking price for all of this abuse to your bodies. I pay a price for it now as a manager, taking a tenth of the bumps the wrestlers have taken. And I'm 34 years old, okay? You look at guys like Harley Race, who did not take any kind of crazy bumps. And, the poor guy is in a wheelchair now. He can't walk. The last time I saw him in person was at a fan fest, and he was on a walker at that time. He has a horrible time getting around. You look at guys in their early years. Look at Hogan. Look, Hogan, often criticized and mocked by fans of a more fast-paced style, for his lack of doing anything. Hogan didn't have to do anything because he was so over. He was one of the most physically limited people that ever drew that much money. But he's fucking destroyed. He can't hardly walk. He can't hardly get out of bed in the morning. He can't drop the fucking leg drop anymore because he has 2 artificial hips.
Yeah, and that's probably the best example because, like you said, he's just had this reputation of Hogan didn't do a lot, Hogan didn't bump a lot. Go back and look at that leg drop. Look at one leg drop that he did, and then picture him doing that 200 plus times a year, probably 300 times a year. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean, a 10-year run, which he had more than that realistically, but say a 10-year run, you're looking at thousands of leg drops. You come down 300-pound frame on your hip like that, and that's one move. That's one guy doing one move. So yeah, there's going to be a price. It's hopefully you can get out of the business as healthy as possible and not have a lot of those issues, but so many people do. I mean, it's almost unavoidable. But you can be smarter and you can be safer and get out in a much better shape than a lot of these guys of the past have. And now, like you said, Harley Race didn't take 50 bumps a week. Not that he didn't work hard. He worked extremely hard and worked a grueling schedule. But you didn't take the bumps. Those guys didn't take the bumps that they take now. Now it's just a nightly thing. You're taking big bumps on house shows, on live events, where you should really be conserving yourself, and that's what's, I think, leading to a lot of injuries these days. And I mean, you gotta appreciate these guys are wanting to give the crowd a great show, but I just don't think they should be doing a lot of the stuff that they're doing as often on house shows, live events, stuff like that. They've gotta just slow back a little bit, work smarter, not harder.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think you're going to see a return of a more conservative style, whether they like it or not. I mean, 2015, 2016 has been a legendary year for the number of injuries between the 2 years, and already into 2016, what we're seeing that have occurred. So many injuries on the WWE main roster, more than ever before probably. And I have to attribute it to the higher pace style that has permeated the card.
Yeah, and how a guy like a John Cena isn't plagued with more injuries than he has been. I mean, because in reality, he's done very well as far as fighting injuries. But, man, that guy's just out there working so hard, leading the team. It's amazing that he's still going as strong as he is. But then you've got these younger guys falling off with injuries, big-time injuries, over and over, and they really do have to change something up and just go back to a little bit slower and just maybe saving the big bumps. And I know it's tough, man. I know people are fighting for spots, and you're on TV with these huge ratings, and there's a lot of money being thrown out there. But you just got to find some ways to entertain and keep people engaged than killing your body, because it can be done. It absolutely can be done.
Yeah, risk is a necessary part of what we do. You can blow out your knee landing the wrong way or even stepping the wrong way in the ring. I've seen it happen. I've done it myself. You get injured on the dumbest things in the ring. And so anytime you do a giant high-risk move, you are factoring in some level of risk as to whether or not you're going to get hurt. And that's anything you do in the ring, though. But you have to maximize your potential for not getting hurt. You have to minimize the risk. You have to pick those spots and do it when it's important, and that way you still take the risk, you still let people see you and you get known, but you're not out here. Not that you shouldn't work hard in front of 5 people. Theoretically, you should work harder in front of 5 people than you did in front of 500 because you want those people to tell people to come back and bring more people. But working harder does not mean taking more bumps necessarily. Like you'd mentioned, working smarter and trying to figure out how you can entertain the people who paid their money and make them want to come back without destroying your own body in the process.
And there's something that people refuse to to think about these days. It's just like it's completely forgotten. Yes, there is huge risk in wrestling, and there's always going to be injuries, and it's a physical sport, and if you can't take certain shots, yes, it's not for you. You shouldn't be in there. But the art of what we do, the art of what is done, the thing that makes professional wrestling different and makes it so beautiful and so great of a mode of telling stories is the fact that you are simulating this violence and that you are putting on this show. So if you're out there hurting your body, you're not doing it correctly. Like the art of what we do is to not hurt each other or ourselves and still have the same result.
It goes back to the old Mick Foley argument in his ECW anti-hardcore promos. Pro wrestling will never be respected. I feel like a lot of these guys are trying to do this stuff to get respect for an industry from people who don't like wrestling. They can say, well, wow, that was really impressive athletic move, so I might not like this fake bullshit, but man, that was a really cool triple moonsault. Not really understanding that fuck those fucking people. They're not going to pay their money anyway to come see what you do. You might win one or two of them over, but ultimately they still think it's phony bullshit, and they're not the audience you're trying to reach. So fuck them.
That's a great point. Yeah, you're exactly right.
So anyway, the Daniel Bryan thing is a huge bummer, but I really hope it does have some positive impact on the business moving forward, that guys learn from this and know when to pick their spots and not destroy themselves, so that when they do get that big opportunity like he got to be on top, that it doesn't come crashing down in the middle of it because of a stupid injury.
Yeah, and what about it's already having effects on people in a negative way? What about the big controversy coming off the end of the retirement speech he gave, which is just real quick in addressing that. I thought the send-off speech that he gave was just wonderful. He was funny. The crowd was engaged with it. He was as positive and as uplifting as possible. Obviously, it was sad, but I thought it was great. Real emotion. It sucks that that's an avenue you have to take to get the real emotion nowadays, but I thought it was absolutely great, the speech he gave. But afterwards, what's your thoughts on this Titus O'Neil situation?
Man, I don't really know what to think about that. That's just one of the most bizarre stories to ever come out of the WWE as far as the controversy. So and there's a lot of opinions going on back and forth, and it's fascinating to me. And I don't really know enough about it to comment, especially internally. But it's just for the fans that don't know, Vince McMahon, I guess, was walking down the aisle after the Daniel Bryan thing, and Titus O'Neil grabbed him and kind of roughhoused him, but playfully. And apparently, did McMahon really headbutt him in the face?
No, I don't know. That didn't happen at all.
I've been told that he did.
No,
and that the camera just cut.
Because I saw it when it happened. I watched it later, or the next day, after Raw went off the air. The whole locker room came out on the stage and had some yes chants and things such as that. Well, right when it's about to end, Daniel Bryan goes to the locker room, and they start to head back. Well, Vince is kind of the first guy, and Triple H and Stephanie. So they're starting to walk towards the locker room, and you see somebody grab Vince's arm, and just kind of grabs his arm and just gives it a little tug. Nothing crazy. Obviously, Titus O'Neil is a huge man. He could have yanked Vince down with no problem, but just kind of tugged on his arm, just kind of like you're just playing around. And Vince turns to him, and I think you can see Vince smiling, hey, damn it, what are you doing? And kind of gives him a push. And then you can't really tell if it's just kind of Vince as they're playing around in wrestling, or if Vince is hot, which obviously he was, and is fuck you, get off me, and gives him a push, and then it goes off. That's all you see. I thought when it happened, I was like, well, that looked really weird. Then fast forward to the next day, and you hear Titus O'Neil get suspended. And, of course, there's all sorts of people reacting to it. And first off, obviously people are saying it's because Vince is racist. He's a black man, put his hands on him, so he's suspended. I personally, and obviously I could be wrong, Vince could just be the biggest racist, and was like, that filthy fucking big lip beast put his hands on me, fuck him, and suspended him. He could be the biggest racist ever. I don't know. But that seems very far-fetched that that's why he suspended him. But, of course, a lot of people jumped to that. Like, immediately the media jumped on it. It was like, he's racist. He suspended a black man. But I do think it's crazy that he got suspended to begin with. Like, how insane is that he suspended for 3 months, and I guess it was reduced to 2 months for that? Like, and people wonder why they say guys are walking on eggshells. Like, he's just kind of messing around with the boss, and he gets suspended.
Yeah, that's really nuts. The one thing I've heard is that people are saying that possibly it's because he's a mid-carder and, you know, he shouldn't be, like, showing that he's cool enough to roughhouse with the boss on TV, and that's why he got suspended. I'm really not sure. It's really crazy to me.
And, like, I don't know. Like, it really looked like Vince was kind of cutting up with him, too, and they kind of said that it was because a lot of guys now are being kind of unprofessional, and they just wanted to make an example and say that, you know, this is a business and it should be treated professionally and stuff like that. Now, I do think that no matter who it was or no matter who you were roughhousing with, I think it was bad timing to do that because you just had this guy pour his heart out and have to retire from something he loves. So sure, you could have griped at this guy. You could have gave him a little heat. You could have said, you know, Titus, what the fuck are you doing? That's not time to be joking around and playing around. I can see that, but man, to suspend him, this guy's going to miss WrestleMania, and this is the guy that they've been behind because, especially with John Cena injured, this guy stepped up and has been doing a lot of the charity work, like a lot of charity work for the company. And they've been behind him and kind of started giving him a little push back on TV and stuff. And then to suspend him, you're going to miss WrestleMania. You're going to miss probably the biggest payday that he would get for the year. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. I mean, you know, he's apparently like a great dad and does a lot of charity work with like, you know, kids who don't have parents and shit like that. You know, he's apparently a stand-up guy. You know, I've never been a huge fan of his in-ring, not to try to slog him or anything. You know, he was one of those football player guys they hired. He seemed to try to assimilate well to the system. To me, he always looked just a little unsafe in the ring, but, you know, he obviously can't be that bad because he's had a job for this long, you know, and has done pretty well for himself. So, you know, just very perplexing, especially, you know, a big muscular black dude, you know, that shows diversity in the company, especially without doing all this charity work. He's a good face, a good public face for the company. So it's really strange to me.
Yeah, I think he's gotten better in the ring. He's connected a little more with the people. And like you said, the charity work alone, and he's, I just hate that people, and it could be a race thing. It could be, but I just don't see. It seems very odd that it would be, because even with the suspension, you had to have people in the company saying it's kind of a bad idea to suspend him because people are going to assume the race thing, because that's always been in wrestling and it's always been in the WWE, and I think to degrees there is some truth in that within the company as far as the way guys are presented and characters and things such as that. But just to punish a guy because he's a black man, I can't imagine that being the case. And I hate that that's what a lot of people's focused in on, and not focused in on so much as, hey, this is just ridiculous to take money away from this man because he was being friendly with the boss. And they've had to have some things in the past where they've done this before. I can't imagine him not having any relationship with Vince McMahon, and at this time, on this day, he decides, hey, I'm going to roughhouse with the boss out of nowhere. Like, I can't imagine that happening. You know, like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I guess he thought him and Vince were way cooler than Vince thought they were.
I mean, the moral of the story is you can be fucking Father of the Year, but you don't touch Mr. McMahon's arm.
Hell no. Especially not if you're a mid-carder.
Yeah, and I think it's hilarious that, because apparently I have heard this before, and I don't know exactly the reasoning, but Batista and Titus O'Neil are very good friends. He's went to bat for Titus a lot and kind of helped him out. And he went to Twitter and publicly said that he told Titus to ask for his release because, he just thought it was such bullshit. He should just ask to be let go from the company because it's kind of that ridiculous.
Yeah, I just feel like there's got to be more to that. There's just got to be more to that than what is on the surface.
I mean, yeah, because it's just, I don't know, it's just crazy. Trying to make an example. What kind of example are you trying to set? Are you trying to tell the guys, like, you can't have any fun here? You can't approach Vince McMahon in any way? You can't, these are all things that you hear a lot of guys go to bat for the company and say that these things aren't true, that Vince wants you to approach him and they don't want you walking on eggshells and they want you to take risks. But then this happens, and look at the message it sends to the whole locker room.
Yeah, interesting times in the WWE.
And they don't want to go back. They don't want to go back on it because even by shortening it from 90 days to 60 days, they can't, like parents that tell their kids to go to their room, you can't just let them come back, because they think they can get away from stuff. They think you're weak, so I'm sure they're going to ride it out. But it's just insane. It's just all around crazy.
Yeah, pretty nuts. Any other wrestling-related topics that you wanted to hit here on the news?
Well, I missed out on this whole AJ Styles debuting. That's been a pretty big thing for the last month. That's a big deal. Very. I know you've touched on it, but what additional thoughts do you have? That's pretty crazy. You're the one that named him the Phenomenal One, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Well, that's a big deal. Where's your cut?
Yeah, I know. I'm still waiting on it. I think I'll be waiting a while. But
I bet old man Barron's got his cut.
Oh yeah, I'll be talking to him. Soon, I'll take a one-time payment. That'll be fine. But
maybe you'll get a t-shirt.
Yeah, at least, right? You'd think I could fucking get one of those. But no, very excited, man. Very excited to see that he's being treated like a star. Apparently, McMahon loves him. Apparently, that he had that match with The Miz on SmackDown where he knocked his fucking teeth out. I mean, when Vince McMahon tells you to be a pit bull, well, you better be a fucking pit bull.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought the match was good, and I'm not just because I know there's a lot of Miz hate out there, but I thought the guy did good as champion. I thought they just kind of swept the rug out from under him like they do a lot of people kind of quickly. But I think it wasn't just because he was in there with AJ. I think it was a chance. They were like, you've got time, you've got a good segment. You go out there and make this guy, get him accustomed to our style, get him accustomed to our fans, and help get him over. And I thought the Miz did a good job. I thought it was a really good match as far as kind of what you're going to see right now. And yeah, the smack where he knocked his teeth out and kind of chipped his tooth. That was I mean, like you said, you gotta bring it, especially because AJ's a small guy too, and he looks small in that ring. The ring's huge, the atmosphere's huge, and he's working with Jericho a lot, which is great. But Jericho's a small guy, and he's shorter than him, so he's gotta put in that work, which obviously he can and will do. And I think it's been smart how they haven't given you all of AJ. They didn't have AJ debut and break out the greatest hits. It has been a slower build, and it has been see a little bit new every week and not see everything in one match, which obviously he don't have to worry about. He's very creative, very innovative, and has a lot of stuff. But as far as the big stuff, he still hasn't hit all of his signature spots, and he hasn't turned it up to going 100 miles an hour. So I think that's pretty smart. Very interested to see what they do. I mean, obviously going into Mania, that's their biggest time of year where you see the more interesting stuff. So I'm curious to see what he'll do on that stage. And I was actually in attendance for his last indie shot where he wrestled Corey Hollis here in Georgia. I actually went to that show, and I wanted to check it out. And man, he was working his ass off. They had a great match, and then he flew off the next day to, I think, California to do a house show. So, you know, he could have easily canceled that gig and just kind of big leagued everybody, but he didn't. He showed up and had a great match and worked hard and spoke to the fans, and then flew off the next day to the other side of the country to work a house show. So that says a lot about his work ethic to me.
Oh yeah, he's a stand-up guy. He's one of the best ever, in my opinion, in the business. And now he's going to show that in the WWE ring. And when it's all said and done, now we'll finally be known as one of the all-time greats, as he should be. And couldn't have happened to a more deserving guy. He's worked his ass off. He did it on his terms. You know, he's not changed a bit since the day I met him, other than, you know, just growing and maturing as a person like we all do. But, you know, still the same heart, the same dude. And, you know, he's taking that now to the next level. And you're going to see, if you are not familiar with AJ, you are in for a treat. You may have a new favorite wrestler. In my opinion, I know I'm biased, but he's the best wrestler in the world today.
And that's a pretty safe assessment. There's a couple guys that could give him a run for his money, and hopefully he'll get to work with a lot of those guys in the upcoming, you know, next couple years, and see what happens for him. But I think he's going to do well. I hope he does as well as he deserves and is capable of. Only time will tell. And you just kind of mentioned something that we gotta touch on to come back on the show. You mentioned the word heart. How much detail did you go in about Bret Hart being?
I was saving that for your return.
Oh well, we got to talk about that, because that was some big shocking news there, announcing that Bret Hart coming out and saying that he had a prostate cancer. I got that text message and I was like, what the hell? And you jump online and you try to read up on it, and it freaked me out a little bit. Got a little scared for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, that's something I'm no stranger to. I just lost my grandpa to prostate cancer earlier this year. My dad has had it. My uncle's had it. So I'm probably going to have it. So I got to stay on top of my checkups and shit. But, you know, it's awful. But if you catch it early and at a young age, then you're probably okay. My dad got it caught pretty early, and they got all of it. And my uncle did the same thing. So, you know, they were in the clear. And now they have a pretty non-invasive surgery that they go in with a laser and just take it out. And so, you know, you get like 3 little puncture wounds on your abdomen, and that's pretty much it. You know, the recovery time's like a week to you're back on your feet and shit, and then like, you know, 6 months before you're fully healed. So it's not like super terrible. So hopefully they caught it early and he just had that deal and they got it out and he'll be good. You know, very important, men, get that checkup, because it's very deadly.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience, especially with that specifically. So when I get that news, I start asking. I sound like an idiot. I'm asking everyone around me. I said, hey, is prostate cancer bad? And they're like, yeah, it's cancer. I'm like, I know it's cancer, but can you fight it? Can you survive it? Can you beat it? What's the deal? And they're all like, well, if you catch it early. And I'm like, I actually said to someone, I said, and they had no clue what was going on, but I said, well, cancer picked the wrong person to fuck with. And they're like, what? Who has cancer? And I'm like, they said, who's got cancer? Someone in your family? And I said, worse, Bret Hart. And they rolled their eyes. They're like, oh my God. I said, well, it's serious. It's cancer. And then I said, well, I think he's got it early. He's getting surgery done. I'm pretty sure as we record this that he had the surgery today, I believe. Could have been yesterday, but
he did, and they said it was successful. He did. They said surgery was successful. He recovers for a week, and then they'll go back and make sure they got all of it, but looks like he's going to be okay.
Well, good, because, man, we'll have to have a 10-volume edition of the Black Mass if something happens to that guy, because, Lord, I can't handle it.
Man.
We've lost enough in the business, and a lot of big, huge losses in the last couple of years. And I heard that, and man, I was terrified.
2015 was a really bad year, and 2016 hadn't started out too great. And, speaking of guys that keep Gypsy Joe in your thoughts, folks, he's not doing well. He's still hanging on because he's the toughest old bastard there ever was. But he's, with respect to his immediate family, I won't go into great detail, but he's, he's just not doing good. So, keep him in mind, because one of the greats and guys from that generation, there's just not many of them left. And when they're gone, aside from the people that were fortunate enough to get to sit under their learning tree, that knowledge is gone with them.
Yeah, and that's another big negative for the wrestling business, because that's happening a lot. That those guys that come from that generation are just slowly but surely just, they're falling off one at a time, and it's so sad, and it's sad for personal reasons, and obviously, but just then for the business that we all love so much. Like that knowledge, like you said, it's kind of drying up, and it's just horrible. And you build these connections. I mean, obviously you have a connection there that's very personal, but we build up these connections with these guys growing up, and they're like our heroes and babysitters and teachers and all those type of things. And so it's very sad when these guys pass.
Yeah, it really is. And so hopefully 2016 will be a little more kind to us than 2015 was, taking so many huge people like Dusty Rhodes and Roddy Piper, and just it was pretty rough.
Absolutely, but I think that's I think that some form of that should be the Hitman Fight Cancer shirt. Cancer picked the wrong guy to fuck with. I'll buy one of those.
I think you're secretly having them made at a printing press right now, but
I should. I'll donate the profits. That's no problem with me. But definitely need something going on there. But he'll fight it. He'll be back stronger than ever, and he'll prove that cancer, you can't keep the best there is, the best there was, best there ever will be.
Damn right. Well, before we move on to the old man haters here, I just want to get our plugs in. Of course, you can see myself and Andrew Alexander at Empire Wrestling, Facebook.com/Empire Wrestling, EmpireWrestling.net, on Twitter at EmpirePW. Just wrapped up the huge Long Cold Winter event. Was a huge success with a packed-out, sold-out house at the Empire Arena that witnessed the new junior heavyweight champion and Chris Gans. And I guess now that you're back, my job as interim commissioner is probably not long for this world.
Well, you've done a great job, and you've got some stuff set up. So we'll worry about that at a later date. I don't want to because like you said, you've got the upcoming this week's show you've already set up. So I will definitely let you see that out. I don't want to just come back and sweep the rug out from under you, but We'll go into some of that news in the Old Man Hater segment as far as my return to Empire Wrestling.
All right. That sounds like a plan to me. So definitely check that out. And then also, barring, I do have scheduled appearances for Why We Wrestle in Cornelia, Georgia, and New South Wrestling in Hartselle, Alabama in March. The Cornelia is 2/27. The New South is March the 12th. Those might be in jeopardy following the huge and brutal death match at Long Cold Winter. Tank is still kind of surveying the damage and seeing what might be. He won that match, but certainly it took a brutal cost on both men. Must-view match if you check out the Empire home video of Long Cold Winter. But I'll keep you posted on those dates as they come around. But yeah, lots of exciting things popping off here as we get 2016 started.
Yeah, Long Cold Winter, like you said, was a success. Won't go into too much of my return until the Old Man Hater segment, but great card. The death match with Tank and Strychnine was phenomenal, and the violence was insane. The first death match to ever take place at Empire, the tag team title match with Livewire Entertainment, losing by disqualification to the newest White Rose members, the Double Dragons, and you have done a hell of a job in making the rematch for February 20th inside of the steel cage, the first ever tag team steel cage match in Empire history. Plus, it's for the Empire tag team title, so it's even more important. So that's going to be can't miss. And the other matches on the card, Rush and Gunnar Miller, was phenomenal. Rush made the mistake of getting in Gunnar Miller's parents' face, and his dad gave him a little paintbrush slap, and before he could retaliate, Gunnar hit him with a huge spear, taking him over the guardrail to the concrete floor. One of the damnedest things I've ever seen. It was insane, and Drew DeLight and Logan Alvey had a hell of a match with Drew DeLight coming out up on top. Just say what you want about Drew DeLight, but the man's been around. He's got a lot of experience. He's a hell of a professional wrestler.
All right. All that and so much more at Empire Wrestling Weekly. Check them out. EmpireWrestling.net, on Facebook.com/Empire Wrestling, and on Twitter at EmpirePW. Also set to appear for Why We Wrestle in Cornelia, Georgia very soon at the Church of Southern Wrestling. Find them on Twitter at Why Do You Wrestle. And also on March the 12th, myself managing the Strong Style Psycho Tank, fresh off a brutal deathmatch victory against his own brother, his own reject member, his own former blood, Strychnine. He's going to Hartselle, Alabama for New South Wrestling's We Love Wrestling event. And for fans of wrestling, make no mistake, this is going to be an event you don't want to miss. You're going to see the sensation known as A.R. Fox and all of the death-defying things he can do. You're going to see the strong man, Peter Casa. You're going to see Team IOU debuting, and we know how tough those guys are. But also signed, sealed, and delivered, we were just informed that they're chomping at the bit for this one. The Strong Style Psycho Tank is going to be taking on Dump Sanders in a Fans Bring the Weapons match. So we're just skipping the foreplay here altogether, huh? You see, at the last New South Wrestling event back in November, the Strong Style Psycho Tank debuted, and he demolished Jeremy Foster. Kid put up a good fight, but he was out of his league. And now, we've challenged Dump Sanders. We came right up to him after the match. And after the victory that Tank took home against Jeremy Foster, he sees this Dump Sanders, this guy who's claiming to be the biggest and the baddest man in New South Wrestling. And, well, that crawls up our ass just a little bit because, frankly, I don't know who Dump Sanders is, or at least didn't before November. Never heard of him. Tank, been all over the world as a deathmatch specialist and a technical wrestling specialist, a power wrestler, a brawler. And Dump Sanders, who the people of Hartselle, Alabama are quite fond of. And I'm not sure why, because you are appropriately named Dump. Any man who calls himself Dump must look like a sweaty stack of pancakes. And that's you, big boy. You are nothing compared to the Strong Style Psycho Tank. He is a specimen. Yeah, he might have a little bit of flab on his belly and a little bit hanging off of his ass. But guess what? He's shown through the trail of broken bodies and all the motherfuckers that he pokes full of holes that he is not to be trifled with. I don't think you really know what you're in for. I almost take it as an insult that you would skip right to a Fans Bring the Weapons match. What makes you think you have earned any sort of stipulation match against Tank? Huh? You didn't beat him in a singles match. You didn't beat him in a tag match. You want to jump right to the fans, bring the weapons. That's pretty apropos for the kids of your generation. Jump right to the climax. Skip the build-up. That's fine by us. You set the rules, we'll break them, and we'll use them to shove it up your ass. So March the 12th, New South Wrestling. Dump Sanders. This isn't going to be playing wrestling. This isn't going to be where you get to go and show out in front of your friends and family by getting one over on a guy like Tank. So if you think you're going to embarrass him, well, you have no idea what you're in for. Boy, he's going to break you, body and soul. And you had hope, you'd better hope, that you survive the match. Because if you do, it might be the last time you ever have to fight Tank. Because by God, what he's gonna do to you, I promise you, will get us banned by the Athletic Commission in no time. Don't come into my yard and take a piss and tell me that it's raining, boy. Don't do it. And yeah, New South, Hartselle, Alabama might be your territory. But if you're talking about a weapons match, you're talking about Tank's home. He was born in it. He was molded in it. He defies logic. He defies domination. He cannot be defeated in a match like that. So March the 12th, bring everything you got, dump. And you better pack a lunch. That's all for this week's edition of the Midnight Black Mass. Keep one foot in the gutter and one fist in the gold. We're out.
This has been a production of the Potty Humor Network. Find us online at youtube.com/pottyhumor or subscribe to us weekly and never miss an episode by searching Potty Humor on iTunes or Stitcher. Thank you for listening and good night.